So we're back with Universe Ticket. This is the third episode titled Tears, and I guess there's going to be a lot of them. But anyways, let's get into it. We're continuing where we left off, and so what we have right here is going to be three battles for the Revenge Battle Week, and we're going to be covering Team Enchanting, Team Pure, and Team Sparkling. And there's two teams for each competing. Although one is going to be a kind of a cliffhanger, we don't get to see the winners perform for the Sparkling Challenge. But let's get into it. I'm trying to avoid recapping because I keep recapping and then the videos are too long. So I'm going to try to just highlight what's interesting to me. And so let's just get right into it. So, first of all, we're going to have teams for Enchanting, the winners and the challengers. And so, in the winners, there's an issue with Angshin, who's the kind of more the Chinese minority, I guess. And there's a language barrier, and she ends up like practicing alone throughout her performance. And I feel like leaving her to practice alone was like not a good decision. I feel like that'd be the hardest thing for her. And when they actually get to performing, even the coaches are saying that they didn't work together as a team, and I agree. I feel like the performance was kind of like slightly narcissistic, and the song actually carried the group a lot more. And if they're upset after their performance, which they were very upset after this. I feel like they don't really have a right to be upset because they didn't insist on moving together as a unit. It just seemed like they were just ignoring this problem, and if you ignore the problem, then you really think that one individual member is going to figure it out on their own. And the funny thing is that they had a translator. And, they didn't have a translator, but they had two Chinese members. One could translate to Korean, but even that Chinese member struggled, and it showed way more in the performance than the one that was shown to be struggling throughout the whole thing. And I guess they were just showing her because they favor her a little bit because she's more interesting. But it just seemed like the whole team kind of let them down in that respect. With regards to the challengers, now you have this group, and they were basically a group without disharmony, but because of how easygoing it was, apparently they didn't work hard enough, and so they ended up getting scolded in some kind of rehearsal thing or practice interim checks, I guess. And so they had issues basically, and it was so bad that they had random, I guess it was producers here, step in to reorganize the song for them. And I thought that was weird. It's like, because so far the girls, they got to like do everything themselves, but here it's like some producer is gonna be so embarrassed that he has to have them reorganize their parts and relearn the parts, which seems like it would cause some issues. And so this does cause issues during practice, and everyone starts feeling like they're letting everyone down or falling behind. Everyone starts crying one after the other, and like Jang Sua, who's like the newbie who basically is just here to learn. She even she has obvious issues, but she doesn't even complain as much as some people who are more experienced than her. And so, what's interesting about this group is when they do get to performing. This is a group that obviously has a huge disparity between their skills, but they look unified. And I guess it's just because of the fact that the group had some kind of harmony. Like, they all got along, and even though they didn't, I guess, they couldn't bring everyone up to the same level, everyone still fit in together. And it wasn't, like, noticeable if someone was really off. It just felt like a different flavor. And I would say that Oyuna was someone who got her revenge, and so the challengers actually won this challenge. So we get next to the pure challenge, the battle between the pure members, and so here we have two teams. One is the there's no color, there's no real color scheme for this one, so I can't differentiate between them in that way. But excuse me. And so one way I look at these guys is that in this team, okay, I got confused because they keep showing random people's faces, so it's throwing me off. Okay, so here's the two teams of the pure teams. So at the top are the winners, and the bottom are the challengers. One is team pink, and one is Team Blue, I guess. The top is the winners. Now over on the far right, if you can see her over here on the far right, that's Lee Sun Woo, and Lee Sun Woo is from Girls Planet. And my watching group identified her as basically having secret leader powers, and she never really got to step up that much. But it was so good to see her leading here and stepping up, because it kind of like vindicated in that respect. And it's like so long ago, the last time we saw it. But this team basically had an issue with one member, who was this one, and I guess she's normally a gymnast or something, and she's used to working alone. But I guess in this group setting, she was kind of feeling pressured, and she was saying it was hard to work in front of the cameras and stuff. And so it was kind of like annoying to watch a little bit, because she's wanting to give up and let the team down by not even trying and refusing to practice for the cameras, and then coming up with excuses. And so basically this causes issues in the formation when they're practicing, and one time she doesn't even show up for practice. And then when she does, she looks like a ghost, and she starts saying that she started to hate herself more because she wasn't showing up. And so she just had issues to get over, but in the end, luckily, the dance was good. And really, the worst parts about their performance in the end was actually Chaewon, who was the experienced idol, and even Sun Woo, who, like, I feel like Sun Woo is a really good idol, but she messed up, and then she got nervous about messing up, and you can see it affected her. Even the judge pointed out that it affected her, and so that's disappointing. Hopefully she'll become a lot better with that stuff, but obviously she's been at this for a while, and I guess struggling, because she's a lot of people here, they want to debut, and so I feel bad for her in that respect. In terms of the challengers, the blue team, so before they were just kind of like practicing in such a way that they were going meticulously through each move from like beginning to end. But then I guess they were having issues and people were falling behind, or people didn't even know which parts they were working on. And it's kind of hard to just kind of like work on really meticulous details, because you have to see sections as like a combination of moves as like sections and stuff. Whereas if you're going for each individual detail, it's kind of like more difficult. At least for some people. And so eventually, I think they learned that other teams were doing it differently, and so they figured that they had time to just go over the whole dance and then refine it, and so that they ended up doing it, and it worked out better for them. And so one thing we got to see later on is that Itzy actually shows up to talk to the losing team, actually, and so we didn't see that before, so I didn't know if Itzy was giving advice to the losing teams, but apparently they are. But this team is still kind of self-conscious about being losers, and so, fear just confirmed again to be probably the worst disease if you're a performer. But they get to their performance, and together they're actually mostly fine. But individually, I would say they were unpolished. And here's the thing, one of them messes up, and then formation actually falls apart, and all the blame falls on one member. And, maybe, one member, Minju, she messes up, and it does cause the other ones to mess up, but it's not really her fault. The other ones should be solid as well, and it shouldn't have affected them so much. And the only thing I'll say is that when Minju did mess up, it showed on her face, and that's kind of like one of those things where, show must go on. You can't just let it show and just like react like that. You gotta be professional, and so even if you mess up, continue smiling, keep going for the next move. A lot of people are way too perfectionist for not even being that great at it, And so if you're already kind of not perfect, don't be a perfectionist. Just try to be professional. And so that's another thing. So then the winners ended up winning with Lee Sun Woo as the leader. So I'm kind of happy about that, but then I feel bad for her. They didn't even show her feeling upset, I think, about being scolded by the judges. And so we have the new teams here. These are the sparkling groups. And so there's two teams, but we only get to see the challengers first. And so, these guys, they end up getting what song was it? It was Dolphin by Oh My Girl. And they were worried about it being a low energy song. And they're also kind of the losers, so they're always self-conscious as well. And so, in terms of trying to keep the spirits up, Kotoko steps up in that respect, and she's like that little blonde girl that everyone wanted to be friends with. And she tries to cheer everyone up and saying, like, what can I do to help my team? And that's all she could do. So she started doing it. And so this team seemed to have really good spirits throughout it, probably because of her. And then the only thing I'll say about this team is that when it got to their performance, everything was actually pretty good. I actually didn't have an issue with pretty much anything. It was probably the most well done performance so far in terms of the group performances. The only thing I would say is that even though they performed without incident, I feel like Huang Siyun, she kind of has these kind of dark eyes, and her expressions at the same time do not seem like she seems like she's not present. There's just a blankness about her, like just like someone whose life is just happening to, rather than someone who's taking control of life. And I was very confused when the judges commented that they liked her expressions, because to me, if I see like that contradiction, then I start to feel like she's being favored for some reason. But I don't see expressions on her. I just see blankness, like like someone's not home. That's the feeling I get from her, and so that was a little bit inconsistent there. But anyways, beyond that, I wanted to see the winners challenge because it has what is it? What's her name? It starts with an E, Elysia, and so Elysia is probably the most standout performer for me on the show so far, and so I was kind of like looking forward to seeing her perform after this one. But it turns out that's going to be saved for the next episode, so it's kind of a cliffhanger. But yeah, that's just the details that I was interested in so far, without really recapping the whole show. It still took me a long time. But anyways, I guess that's it. That's all I learned from this episode. And so I don't know. I don't know if that was better than me just going through my notes, because this time I made double notes. But I don't know if it was actually more clear. It may have been more scattered for all I know. But anyways, I guess that's it. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you don't like it, give it a thumbs down. Let me know why in the comment box down below. And if you're not subscribed, consider subscribing so I can see you in the next video.